Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Success Stories. So this week I've got a really, really interesting guest. Her name is Grace, and she is an investor in a brand called Luxury Promise, which I have followed on Instagram forever. They've got about 140,000 followers, and they basically, well, maybe you can explain what Luxury Promise is.
Hi guys, thank you for listening. So my name's Grace, and I am an investor at Luxury Promise, and Luxury Promise is an online e-commerce platform where you can buy, sell and exchange pre-owned vintage luxury goods. We specialise in authentication and competitive pricing in the resale market, and my role in the business is head of retail, so anything to do with pop-up stores, new locations, anything on the ground, that's kind of my area of specialty.
So basically, in short terms, Grace gets to spend all day long flying around with Chanel handbags and looking at all the fun stuff and Dior, like everything.
I do.
Which is what I just love to follow. So I think, first of all, I just want to start with what does it even mean to be an investor in the business? Like how... I guess there's different levels of control that you can have depending on different things. So, like, talk me through how that even happened and what it means for you.
Yeah, so the position that I'm in now was actually it just kind of fell into place over the years with the different types of experience that I was doing and kind of work experience. So I actually started interning really young. I was interning from the age of 16 in fashion magazines, just kind of putting myself out there through the summer, in between school, that kind of thing, just to see what my interests were. I then was really lucky to have two entrepreneurs as parents. My mum and my dad, they both had their own businesses. So I actually left school early, so I didn't finish my A-levels, but I went straight into business. I worked full-time for my father's company, which was quite a similar model to Luxury Promise. It was actually with watches. The company was Watchfinder. So from the age of...
No way. I know Watchfinder.
Yeah, so from the age of 17, I was very lucky to have that first-hand experience of working in a corporate company that had, built to something massive over the years, and I was there first-hand to, experience the growth and watch the blood, sweat and tears that went into it from my parents. So I had, I was very lucky to actually land that job, but I also put myself out there. So I didn't want people to kind of know that I was, I had the job just because he was my dad.
Yeah, well, this is such an interesting thing because I always say that, like, I'm really driven, but I don't know where it comes from because, like, I know my mum's going to listen to this, so please don't get a bee in your bonnet. But so my mum and dad are both really hardworking, but I think there's a difference between being hardworking and driven. So my dad's a black cab driver, has been forever. My mum's worked in a supermarket her whole life. So, that kind of, they're in those jobs and they've never, like, strived for more.
Yeah.
So do you feel like growing up having a mum and dad like that, that taught you to always strive for more? Or do you think it made you a bit complacent because you knew that they were obviously doing well?
Do you know what? Watching, I come from a very normal background. We were a middle class family. We didn't have a lot of money in the bank to spend. So I think we were naturally driven to make something of ourselves. I do believe that putting yourself out there and throwing yourself in the deep end is what will set you apart from having that 9 to 5 in comparison to kind of, becoming very successful in whatever you're doing. I do really think that it is about the extra hours outside of work. And like I said, just putting yourself out there and being uncomfortable. Being in an uncomfortable situation is the only way that you're going to grow.
Yeah.
And I've seen that, I watched my parents, I watched them, become something from nothing. And I really had no choice but to strive for more because my parents were they were very pushy, I was 17 and I was like, I don't want to be in school. Like, I love learning, but I felt like I want to make money. Like, it comes down to that, right? I wanted to make some money for myself, and I put myself in a position where I was like, okay, I'm going to work for a business. I'm going to kind of just learn and take everything in, the different parts of the business, the different angles of a business, and see where it takes me. And I was there for 2 years. I learn't a lot. I was actually just working in the eBay department. It was really like the smallest scale. Smallest job.
Do you feel like other people that worked there took you seriously even though you're the boss's daughter?
Yeah, so actually the funny thing is I didn't tell him I was going for the job. I did the job interview and I got the job, and I said, right, Dad, they've offered me the job at your company, can I take it? And he was so taken back because I didn't. That was the thing.
Amazing that you even
I was so scared
to
for
do
people
that.
to judge me and you know, to not take me seriously, and it was hard to like kind of, you know, you have to earn your place even more. But I earned my place, you know, I earned my stripes in it, and I kind of just went for it. And even at that age, you kind of just have to kind of block out negativity.
Yeah, and I think, I know I cut you off completely mid-story. I just think it's so interesting with like family, because it can either send you one way or the other, really. You know, having, you know, a father who has a really successful business, it can either make you be a bit of a, oh, Daddy, can I have some money? Or it can make you go, oh, I want to do that as well.
Yeah. You know what, as well, because we came from we had a very normal lifestyle, I was never handed anything. It was always, if you want to buy that, you need to get a job. And I was always encouraged to, you know, work through like on the weekends and like after school and stuff. So I think it was really drilled into me from a young age. I think my first job was at 15, and then by the time I was 17, I was just so ready to like crack on with it. So yeah, I think I had a lot of support from my parents and I learned a lot. But whether you have like entrepreneurs as parents or not, you can just like put yourself in the deep end and like, you know, throw yourself into uncomfortable situations and make it regardless of your parents.
Yeah, and I think it's such a similar situation for me in terms of, you know, if I wanted something nice, it was like, okay, well, where are you going to get the money from that from them? Which I think I've actually recorded a podcast on this that maybe I would have released before this episode, but it's all about me being a really materialistic person and why I'm kind of happy for that, because it makes me work so hard, because I know that I can't just go to someone and say, hi, I want a new handbag, can you send me some cash? Like it doesn't work like that. So I feel like we're similar in that sense that, you know, you obviously like really nice things as well, but you knew you was never just going to get them.
Yeah, and you know what, that kind of leads me on to the point of Luxury Promise, because you know, the whole business is built upon being really competitive with our pricing in the resale market, and making sure that everything's 100% authentic. And to be able to shop luxury and make luxury accessible across the globe is one of our like key parts of the business. So we set up in Dubai. We have an office in Dubai now, which is kind of the bridge to the like the Asian markets, and obviously the US is a big market as well. And just being able to, you know, provide luxury items to people who may not have thought that luxury could ever be accessible to them is like one of the fundamental parts of Luxury Promise as well.
Wow.
So buying luxury at like less than retail price, or being able to buy the vintage Chanel pieces at, you know, like half the price of what they are now, that's what we literally love. Like that's what the whole business is about.
So getting back to being an investor, so yeah, before I cut you off, you can continue that story of like, what does that even mean and how did that happen?
Yeah, so for me, the experience that I gained from internships, you know, if you're studying in university to be like a lawyer or a nurse, then you have to do that course. But I think in business, you can learn so much being involved in a startup company, or being, you know, just putting yourself out there. Like at the start, you're not going to earn the big bucks. Like it's not going to happen. If you have the opportunity to work as an intern in a fashion magazine or a marketing agency, go for it, even if it's for like four to 6 weeks. Like the stuff that you learn being on the job and being around people who are business minded and, you know, like-minded, like we are, it you know, the experience you build from that is great for your CV. So I worked really hard on building up a CV. I didn't want to study, I didn't want to go to university, so the other option for me were those internships and courses.
Yeah, so, and that's so scary as well, to you know, do an internship for X amount of weeks or months and then go to somewhere else. I did one at a modelling agency, which was in Shoreditch, for maybe 3 weeks before, and I was absolutely shitting myself.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It is so terrifying, because especially in the industry that you're in, it's quite cutthroat and it's quite like, you know, so you don't know if you're going to walk in and meet really nice people, or if you're going to walk in and you're going to be spending the next 6 weeks. Yeah.
The one thing you always have to remember is putting yourself in a room of people that you don't know. You never know the opportunities that will arise for you. You know, meeting new people and being in a new scenery. You know, I grew up in the countryside. I'm from like Kent. I lived in a village called Bearsted. Like, I literally grew up in the middle of nowhere, and I moved myself to London at 18 because I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to meet like-minded people in this area. I need to get myself out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I made that big move into London, and I was putting myself in these uncomfortable situations of events. Like, you know, I was like 18, 19 in a room full of like women who are established and they're successful and they live in London and they have their whole lives. But as long as you're yourself and, you know, you can make that effort and like make conversation and like ask if there's any opportunities for you, people appreciate that, and people, you'll be surprised, people are there to guide you and to open up these opportunities for you, which leads me on to how I met Sabrina. So I actually met Sabrina through an event. Sabrina is the CEO and founder of Luxury Promise. She had recently set up the business, and I met her through an event. And this is kind of how I stumbled into Luxury Promise. It was just a case of me being at an event, we spoke and we clicked straight away. And you know when you just meet someone and you really aspire to be like them.
Yeah.
And, she inspired me. She was successful, she was driven, she had all of these characteristics and traits that I wanted for myself. And she really took me under her wing. And at first, I was just a content creator in the company. This was when we were like tiny. We were 3 of us at the time, a team of 3, and I got brought in to do like the creative content and the Instagram, which was my passion at the time. And then, you know, we were fundraising and we were doing like our seed round, so we'd just done our Friends and Fools round, which is a small like investment round, and then you go on to the seed round. And this was when I had the opportunity to say, look, I want to be part of this long term. I have some savings that I don't know what to do with, and I feel like this is the right move for me. Can I invest? And that's kind of how it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then once you become an investor, do you have a certain amount of control or say over what goes on in the company? Does it depend on how much you invest? And like, there's obviously going to be a bunch of different terms, but what does it mean for you?
So for me, being an investor is much more than just being an employee. I work obviously full-time with the company anyway, but when you are an investor, it's your money on the line at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, so it makes you so much more kind of, you want to work so much harder.
Yeah, exactly, because it's something for yourself, you know, whether you own half the business or 0.5% of the business. If the business becomes this massive corporate company, then you're in an amazing position to make something of yourself. And, you know, again, it's all about kind of like your CV and what you have on your belt to be able to say, you know, I joined a startup company when I was 19 and now we're a team of 20, and to actually have my name on, you know, a shareholders agreement is it's surreal. It is really surreal. And, you know, you've invested your own money, so kind of, you know, your finances are on the line as well.
Yeah.
And it's just believing in it. Like, if you really believe in something, get as involved in it as possible. Like, for me, I was more, you know, I wanted to be more than an employee. I really believed in the business, and because of my previous experience in Watchfinder, there's a massive market for resale and pre-owned. So yeah, it was just a case of, again, I threw myself in the deep end, and I believed in the business and I believed in the people that I was working with. So yeah, that's kind of
I
how it
suppose
happened.
that as well, you know, before you invested, you know, being so young, that probably wasn't even a thought that would have ever have come into your mind. It was
Not at all.
probably just being around that environment and knowing that that was going on, and then just thinking one day, I wonder if I can do that. Like, I suppose it's not something that you necessarily wake up one morning and go, I want to be an investor.
Not at all.
I suppose it does just have to happen organically like that.
Yeah. The thing is with investment is you really do have to truly believe in what you're investing in. You also have to, for me, being quite a hands-on involved investor was important because it shows that you care.
Yeah.
There are different types of investors. We have certain investors who, you know, they throw money at you and then you don't hear from them for 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, I wanted to be involved. I believed in the business and I wanted to work hard to make it something big. So, you know, there's different types of investors, but the people that kind of are involved daily and are with the team daily, and, you know, you can tell who is truly invested, not just financially. Like,
yeah.
You know.
And I suppose almost a bit of a big question is, why did you decide investing was for you, rather than thinking, why don't I use this saving that I've got to start my own company? Was it because with Luxury Promise it was already, you know, it was already established and you thought, okay, it's not something I've got to build from the complete ground up? Was it that sort of scenario?
So for me, business was something I learned from experience. I never studied business at university. They don't teach it in school. You know, they don't teach a lot of things that I think they should in school. So business is is something that I have been learning, still learning now over the years. At 19, I was in no shape or in no place in my life to start my own business. Firstly, because I don't know what, you know, I would love to be a CEO one day and a founder of a company, and I hope I will, but I need to, you know exactly what I'm going to do. And right now I'm not in a position where I think, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, and to, you know, it's a big leap going from an employee to then going to an investor and then joining a startup. Even a startup itself is massively, it's a massive risk because
it's scary.
You never know. It is scary. And, you know, I think as long as you believe in the people that you're working with and you believe in the business and you're ready to spend that time and effort and sacrifice on it, then like there's nothing more else that you can do.
It's something that I always say is that if you really believe in something,
go for
then
it.
There's no other option but for it to work.
Yeah.
So like with me, for example, you know, I'm only just now self-employed, and that was such a scary move for me.
So scary.
But I truly believe that what I do and my business is going to be really big, and I think if you don't believe that, it's never going to work because you're never going to put as much love and attention and sacrifice, like you said, into it. You know, I've had it with other things where I've had jobs and I was never going to be amazing in that company because I didn't love the business or I didn't love the brand, so it was never going to be a big thing. So I think it's so important that if you're not in something that you 100% love, then you probably should change because it's never going to be to the full extent that it could.
Yeah, and I think is there's a saying, it's something like you want to live to work or work to live or along those lines.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're waking up every day and you're dreading going into work, then what you're doing is not for you. Like I'm very lucky. I have an amazing job, but we work 12-hour days consistently, 6 days a week. Like there's a lot of blood, sweat and tears that goes into it behind the scenes. Yes, we have like, you know, I look at handbags all day long, and I work with such amazing women, but at the same time there's a lot of stress involved in it because you are at a risk at the end of the day. You know, we are trying to build something. You never know what's going to happen down the line. For example, for COVID, for everybody, COVID was such a massive thing because you either make it or people were making it and people were kind of like
it was
breaking.
Literally one way or the other. It either did the most amazing thing for people's businesses or the worst.
Yeah, and it was an awful situation for everyone, but it's all about evolving with, you know, with what's happening in the world. And for us, COVID was a massive break point for us because we were like, who is going to be buying handbags in the midst of a pandemic? Like, this is it. What are we going to do? Like, start looking for new jobs kind of thing. And actually, we transformed it from this like website. You know, we had like an office in the Bulgari hotel at the time, and we were like very client facing, and we transformed it into this like massive website with loads of stock. And this is kind of where we went into this content driven world.
Yeah.
We evolved and we made it work for us. So it is all about evolving and putting yourself out there. And like I said, like if you are in a 9-to-5 that you don't love, at the end of the day, I'm not saying, you know, quit your job, because people aren't in a financial position to just say, you know, I'm done with it, I'm going to make that jump. But those extra hours on the weekends and in the evenings, like you have to work on what you want, and you have to spend those extra hours, you know, focusing on what you want to build for yourself, and then you can make that jump sensibly.
That's exactly what I did. So I was working for my best friend for the last year and a half, and obviously loved it. We had a great time together and all that, but it wasn't my passion, and it was never supposed to be my passion. It was just, actually, she said, I need someone to help me one day a week, that turned into 5 days a week and all of that. So, but I used to go to work, come home, get home at 6, and then I would sit and work on my business and do my one-to-one one-to-one sessions with clients till 9 o'clock, from 6 till 9, so 3 sessions in the evening, and then I would eat dinner at like 9:30, and then I would go to sleep, and then I would do all again, and then Saturdays was just all business, content creating, everything, and it was really hard to juggle both.
And it's really hard.
People used to say to me, so like the most one-to-one sessions I did in a week around my full-time job was 15, so that's 15 hours that I've found around my 9 till 5:30 job, and people say to me, where are you getting that time? Like, I would never have the time. And I'm like, no, but you find the time. You make the time. If you want it. It's like what people say when you're like dating a guy, and they're like, if he wants to see you, he'll make the time. It's the same thing. Exactly. Like, if you really want it, you'll make the time. And you know, I've been able to quit my job so soon because I put in those extra hours.
And I bet you never expected to do it as quick as you did it as well.
Oh my God, no, honestly, I thought I'll buy maybe like mid next year, then maybe I'll be in a position to whatever. I went part-time, so I started working 3 days a week, and then the following month I was like, I can actually do this. So it happened so much quicker. And, you know, I could have taken my time with it and not put in those hours and waited another year or 2 years, but why?
Yeah, it's that hustle. It's about having that, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone, and it's sacrifice. Like, you know, you're coming home from your 9 till 6, and instead of like putting your feet up and putting a film on, you're straight back into work. You know, you're eating late, you're sleeping less, and now look, like, and it's just the perfect example of like small changes in your lifestyle and like your day to day make such a big difference over time. Like, it's not about like working till like 12 o'clock at night and that kind of thing. Those couple of hours, they do add up.
Yeah, I saw something, it was on Instagram the other day, and it was like 3 hours of just completely undistracted work a day can put you so much further ahead. And it's so true, because I bet I never ever sit there for 3 straight hours without, I don't know, looking at Instagram and scrolling, or, you know, getting up to make a drink that I probably don't even want, or having a quick sit down with the dog or whatever. So I think just little things like that, you don't actually need as much time as you think.
Yeah, and I think as well, your working environment is a really important thing. For me, working from home it just didn't work for me, because I need to separate my work and my chill time. So like, I was working in my kitchen during lockdown in the pandemic, and then I would look up and it would be 10:30 at night, and I'd be like, I've literally worked from 9 till 10:30. And I was finding it hard to sleep, and I was, you know, just finding it hard to separate the two.
You don't switch off, I don't think.
So properly. I think you don't. And I think, you know, a designated area to work, and like, leave your phone if you're not on, you know, working on your phone. Like, just little things like that, they do make a massive difference.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest difficulties for me, and it's probably one for you with, you know, relaxing, is that my phone is my work. So I've really struggled to put it down. But it's also, your phone is kind of like your chill time, because, you know, if you're relaxing and watching TV and you just want to have a little scroll and see what your friends are doing on Instagram, but then my work messages will be coming at the same time. So I have now got a work phone to try and separate it. But I do think that can be tough for businesses, because most businesses that probably are going to listen to this are mainly online, because I think the majority of things are now.
Yeah. The thing with online is, you know, having a presence online is so powerful. I think for me, and you must agree, businesses nowadays, if you're not on Instagram or you're not on social media or online, you're you know, the business will not take off.
You're so limited.
You're so limited. Exactly. So I think there's finding that healthy balance of being on your phone. You know, my screen time is sickening. It really is. And I do have those half a days where I'm like, right, I'm not going to touch my phone, or, you know, I go away and I do switch it off. But I think if you're using it to your advantage and it's benefiting you for your business, then go for it.
Yeah, it is what it is. So I feel like this leads us on to a really big topic that I want to speak to you about, which is content, because the content on the Luxury Promise page is amazing.
Thank you.
And I think, you know, it's really obvious that you guys work really hard on it, that you probably invest a little bit in it, because, you know, quite a lot of what you do looks quite professional. And I think you're so consistent.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually know before you was speaking earlier that that's what you was originally hired to do.
Yeah.
So I just think I'm always trying to explain to people the power of the content on your page. Like, you know, even for you, there probably are tons of other, you know, luxury goods reselling brands out there.
It's a massive industry.
But it sets you apart because I follow another, page similar to Luxury Promise. I won't say who, but they mainly just do kind of showing stuff in the mirror and, just stuff at home, which is great. Like, it's fine. And I do really look at their content.
Yeah.
But I think you guys really bring like the fun to it, and you do all these fun videos, and it's not just, I think with content, it needs to be so much more than just, here's our product, here's how much it is, and here's where you can buy it.
Yeah, do you know what? So obviously the product in any business is the fundamental core of the business. It's the skeleton. It's all about the product. But at the end of the day, having an audience who will come back to you, having that return customer is really important for the business. Having somebody who not only loves your product, but loves the team and loves the ethos of the company is where you get those repeat customers and the people who will support you and turn up to your events and show love on social media. So yeah, I did start in content. I started with this, like, the Instagram, and we grew it. We've always had a professional photographer in house. I think quality content is key. There's a lot of pressure to be posting all the time and being, like you said, we are consistent, but actually the quality of the content is really important as well, because obviously the engagement on the post really affects the way the business looks. So the product is the key, consistency is key, but the quality of the content is key as well. And you really have to strip your business back, and you have to figure out 3 points. What are the 3 points that we need to get across in every single post that we do? For us, it's the product, it's the community element, and it's being inclusive and involving everybody. So how do we mix that into a big pot and create this content that we can have those elements come through? So obviously with us, it's the team personality. We have an amazing team that we're all women, by the way. So the only guy in the company is the photographer. He hates us sometimes because we're all like, look at my face in this picture. Oh God, I hate that of me. But it is what it is. Having that consistency. I've gone off topic now. The team. Okay, so for us, we're the experts in the industry. We're all trained in authentication, in pricing, and in customer service. So we're still quite a small team. Obviously we have our seniors and our heads of departments, but we all speak to customers. We all list product on the website. We all buy product. We buy product from clients. We sell. So we all have a really in-depth understanding of the product and how we sell it and how we buy it. So with that, we kind of, as I said, we mix it in with the content, and we want people to know the team and see the faces that they're speaking to on WhatsApp all day long. And I just think having that inclusive feeling and making people feel like they have the access to the luxury pieces that we have was the core for it.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that you guys are, you really show yourselves on Instagram. So like you're all over the Instagram, and like the other women, like I see you guys all the time. And I personally think that's so important because nowadays, first of all, people 1,000,000% buy into you as well as the product and the brand. And I think the second thing is that it shows that you're not just kind of like robots. Like sometimes I go on Instagram pages and I just think this is so robotic, and it sounds weird, but too businessy,
just like empty.
Empty is the perfect word, because it just feels like, who am I actually giving my money to? Sometimes it just feels like, I'm just giving it to someone who's got loads of money and no personality, and just like, I don't know, it's a weird thing that sometimes when you look at people's pages. But I think with yours, where it's always the same faces and you have so much fun in your content and I think that really speaks volumes to the customer.
I think as well, obviously not everybody wants to put themselves out on social media. So faces are important for companies and businesses, depending on obviously the nature of the business. But if you're in a position where you have this amazing idea for a business, but you don't want to put yourself out there, I don't think people should feel pressured to do that if they don't want, some people like a private life. For me, I love what I do and I'm happy to put myself out there. However, some people aren't, and that's fine, but you do have to have somebody involved in the business who will put themselves out there.
Yeah.
And someone who aligns with your brand ethos. For example, we've just brought in Claire Chanel. She's a big YouTube influencer. She works with a lot of luxury brands, and we brought her in as the new creative director of Luxury Promise. And the reason why we've done this is because her beliefs and her ethos behind her content really aligns with ours.
Yeah.
So bringing those audiences together can be really powerful. So, if you don't want to be the face of your brand and you do need that kind of personal element to it, then think about, collaborating with influencers who align with the brand, or if you like the look of somebody's profile and you think that they could be a real asset to your business, then like bring those people in. It's like you can't do everything alone, and you have to bring those people in to make your business stronger.
And it's such a big conversation that I have all the time with people who really don't feel comfortable. And I was 100% one of those people for such a long time. And I think for me, it was just a case of, I knew that me being on the page and being, the personality in the face was, really going to help my business grow. So I kind of used the fear of my business not growing to get over the fear of being on camera and being on my page. But some people really aren't in that position in like confidence and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely something you want to try and work towards for yourself.
Definitely.
But, with you, was you always just comfortable?
No, I was the worst public speaker, honestly. So we sell a lot of our products through, we used to sell a lot of our products through talking stories. Now, I follow, I think Instagram, we have these like influencers and girls who are like, they look amazing all the time. But there's no personality, there's no real talk. There's no, like no talking on stories, and it's just very, posy and this and that, and everyone looks amazing. But at the end of the day, people buy into your personality, and and then from that, if people like you as a person, they buy into your brand even more. So for me, it was practice. It took me 6 months. It really did. It took me 6 months. Every day I was like talking on stories, and now it's just so natural. Like it just kind of almost, I talk too much sometimes because it's, you just become natural to it. And it really is a lot harder than it looks. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, because it's not. But
It's not kind of a natural thing, is it? It's not. And I think it's like anything in life. Once you do it once, twice, 3 times, and you see, okay, that wasn't actually so bad after all, then you do kind of get over it.
Yeah. Again, it's all about that comfort zone that I spoke about at the start. Pulling yourself out of the comfort zone and making yourself feel uncomfortable is the only way that we can grow. And I think if you are, an aspiring CEO or founder of a company, then if and you do want to go in that direction, then these are all of the elements that will make you a success.
Yeah. Well, my first podcast that I released was called If You Don't Change, Nothing Will, which I think so true with what you're saying. Like, if you stay in your comfort zone in the same position all the time, then nothing is going to change, and you're not going to grow, and you're not going to do anything. That's why I'm almost against the whole like manifesting stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm all for putting the positivity out there and like really believing in it. But what I can't deal with is people that think, I'm just going to manifest all this stuff and then it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And if I just really think about it all the time, and if I really, put as my wallpaper on my phone £1 million check, that it's just going to come. Like that's why I think that's all a bit confusing for some people, because they think, if I just manifest it, and it's the same as, if I just stay in my comfort zone, but if I'm manifesting it, then surely it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think manifestation is a really nice, positive way of thinking about what you really want in life. Like for me, I do manifest a lot, but I write things down. So I do it on a much smaller scale. For example, at the end of the day, I'll write down kind of, what I want to do the next day, or like, at the end of the week, how do I want to feel and what do I want to have achieved? Obviously, I've got big goals other than just what I'm going to do throughout the week, but do it on a small scale, and then every day kind of read back on what you wrote on the day before. And I think manifestation is like having 4 pieces of a puzzle that are like kind of dangling in front of you in different ways. For example, a promotion, or this couple of hours work will lead you this way, or different things that you can do, and then that puzzle comes together. Manifestation isn't something that you can say, I really want to be a CEO, but I'm just going to sit here and wait. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's like me. So maybe I do manifest, but I call it like goal setting. So every day I write down exactly what I want to do, and I'll write down, I always do it at the beginning of the year. I'll be like, this is what I want to achieve. And don't get me wrong, it always changes. Like what I write down in January, by December, some of the things I'm like, do you know what, that didn't happen, but it's okay, because it wouldn't have worked out anyway, or it wasn't actually something that I wanted. So I think it's fine for your goals to change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not here for, I'm just going to go read The Secret and then I'm just going to sleep with the book under my pillow and I'm just going to hope that I get a check.
Don't get me wrong. I've read the book and I think it's a great book and I think it's a really nice way to turn a want into something positive, you know, but you can't expect to just sit and like do nothing and then like stuff to be handed to you. And I think it's more of I think it's like productive manifestation. It's like writing things down that you really want, but then you think, okay, how am I going to achieve it? Rather than saying, oh, you know, I really want to earn this much or I really want to land that job. It's saying, right, this is what I want. And then you write like an execution plan. Like, how do you get there? You write steps. It could be something so small, like, I don't know.
Once you break it down, it also makes it so much less intimidating because, you know, we all have these really big goals and sometimes when you do write them down, you think, oh my God, like, how is that even going to happen? But then once you break it down into like, right, okay, I need to probably do these 3 things in order to get to that, it just makes it so much more achievable, I think.
It does.
Completely different topic.
Okay.
So we've obviously spoke a lot about being online, but you guys do have like shops and, you know, actual, you know, premises. Why do you feel like for you guys it's important to have that and not to just be online?
So for us specifically speaking, we sell pre-owned, used luxury handbags and accessories. So for us, a big thing is condition, being very transparent with the condition of our items. And I think as well, when you're shopping with for a handbag, I know you can read the measurements online and, you know, you can see what type of leather it's been made from, but actually seeing the bag in person, wearing it, styling it, touching it, and meeting the team who know the product, who can tell you more about the piece, it's a much more special experience. So for, you know, I have a lovely story. So a lady, she sold us a 1950s Dior bag.
Wow.
And she sold it to us and, you know, she was like, oh, I just want to get rid of it. I've never used it. And I had a lovely lady come in and she was just looking around the shop and she stopped and she just burst into tears. And I was so taken back. I was like, oh, are you okay? What's wrong? And she pointed at the bag and she said, my mum passed away a couple of months ago and she had that exact bag and she ended up buying it. So, you know, little experiences like that you can get in store, you know, make a massive difference. And again, like I said, the condition of the pieces, we can take 100 images of the bag online, but seeing it in person does make a massive difference. And as well, you kind of, you can try different sizes on, like you can get like 5 or 6 set of the same bag in different sizes. So if you're not sure on what size you want, coming into the store is a great way to figure out what you really want. I think retail is quite a risky route to go down. I think it really depends on what your business is, but for us, we wanted to build that customer experience. We're all about that experience. So, you know, we have this amazing stock in our store, but we have a coffee shop outside and we've got
I've seen it with the pink chairs.
And we've got like a telephone box inside and we've got LED lights everywhere and music and like flowers, and we want people to come in. It's not just about the sale. It's about our customers coming in, having a coffee, sitting with one of the girls in the team and just learning about the business.
Whole no pressure environment. I said to you when, you know, off air before we walked in, I said, like, oh, I've walked past the shop a million times and I've never gone in, because I do feel that sometimes when it is a store like, you know, Luxury Promise, you can almost sometimes feel pressured that, oh, if I go in, are they going to expect me to buy something? Or is it just... So I think all those little things you do, because last time I walked past, I noticed the tables and chairs outside that were new. I hadn't seen them before. And I can tell that that's obviously you guys trying to make it a little bit more friendly and about the experience. And I think, you know, what you said earlier about you want return customers, I think coming into store and being able to give a customer service is what brings people back, because ordering online can be quite cold.
And you know what as well, I think for us, I'm sure even myself, I've had a bad experience in a luxury store. I won't mention any brands because, you know, we work with the brands now and we sell the brands, but you know, you can be made to feel uncomfortable. For example, you know, you want to walk into a luxury store on Bond Street and the guy straight away at the door kind of looks you up and down, looks at your jewellery, looks at your watch and kind of just shrugs you off if you're not wearing anything nice. It's happened to me. It's happened to people that I know. And we want to create this luxury experience, but with the opposite feeling. Like, we obviously want you to have that amazing moment with a bag and to unbox it and to really enjoy the experience. And we want to turn that feeling of not being included or not feeling like you could walk into a luxury store, and actually with Luxury Promise you can. These pieces are accessible to everybody, and I love it when we get people coming in and saying, oh, you know, I've followed you on Instagram for so long. I was really scared to come in. And they're like, but you're actually really nice. It happens all the time. They're like, you know, you really intimidate me on Instagram, but you're actually so lovely in person. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you know,
well,
things
I
like
will
that.
Definitely be coming in next time I walk
you
past,
have
because
to.
I cannot tell you how many times I have walked past and I've just always thought, oh, I'd love to have a little look in the window. And
sometimes you'll catch me like running outside, like, do you guys want to come in? Like, I'm literally shouting at people in the street to come in, because people kind of stand at the door and they look in and then they see like an all-women team and think, oh, you know, how am I going to be made to feel? And we are all about making people feel good, and like, it's not about the sale, it's not just about the sale, it's about the community, and it's about, you know, making people feel good.
Yeah, and I love that you kind of, you know, you touched upon it earlier, that you all still do, you know, the buying, the selling, you're on the shop floor, you're doing all that. And I love that no matter what position you're in the business, that everyone gets involved. Like, I think it's so important to be involved in kind of every aspect of the business, to know what's going on and know kind of how it works, and to also know what's going on in the customer's hair. Because if you're someone that's just out the back, then you're never really going to truly know what the customers are thinking.
This is another really great point about, you know, working for a startup. Being in a startup company, of course, has its risks because you don't know where it's going to go. But you are really exposed and you're in the limelight because you're such a small team. And you also have the opportunity to learn lots of different things about the company. So for me, I started in content. I'm now running the store in London. And, you know, we've got like such a big team and I'm in charge of a lot. And I would never have... I think in corporate companies, you're given a role and you're put in that box, and people don't give you that opportunity to say, what do you want? Where do you want to be in life? What is your passion and what are you good at? Like, and that's the sad thing about corporate companies. Obviously, any startup, the aim is to become a corporate company and become this massive company, of course. But you know, I've seen it firsthand in you know, Watchfinder. There's so many employees. And it's hard to kind of, you know, go up the ladder of where you want to be in life and learn. And learning is all about exposure. It's about who you're around. And I've been exposed to so much, like finance, for example. Numbers are not my thing, but I'm put in the deep end. You know, I deal with like money, and I deal with orders, and I pay clients, and a lot of like finances involved. And I hated it when I started. Because I was out of my comfort zone.
Because you wasn't comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's all about just being exposed and having that opportunity to grow. And that's one thing about Sabrina, who's the CEO. She is so she cares so much about everybody, and she wants everybody to have that opportunity to stand up and say, I want to be here one day. And she gives you that roadmap of, okay, if that's what you want, this is what you need to do within the company to get there. So it's having that clear roadmap to your success.
Yeah,
really.
and I think that's something that so many businesses miss the trick on, is that they don't give their staff enough opportunities. They don't actually really care enough about their staff and what they're learning. But the truth is, if you invest that in your staff, like you speak so highly of Sabrina, which is amazing. And what that does is it makes you work harder for her. Aside from you being an investor, if you wasn't, because she's put in so much time and effort and, you know, passion into you as well, it really makes you work harder for them. Like, I've worked for so many people who do not give a shit about you, and it makes you go, okay, well, I'm going to do exactly what I'm contracted to do, and not a minute or a second more, because you don't feel the love.
Yeah, the thing is, it's all about respect, I think. And if you don't respect the people that you're working for, then you're just watching the clock. Oh, I'm leaving in an hour. I'm leaving in 45 minutes. Like, you know, you're counting down the hours to end your day. Whereas with me, it's like, the day doesn't end at 6. Like,
no, it ends when the work for that day has ended.
Yeah, exactly. And that you know, it's all about that, being inspired by the people you're around. If you're not inspired by the people that you're around, or you don't aspire to be like them, then you're not going to go, you know, you're not going to make that progress in yourself.
No, I think it's such a good point to kind of finish the podcast with, to just, if you're not sure and you're not in something that you love, like, I think the internship stuff that you spoke about is so important, to kind of try different things out and get a feel for what you want, because, you know, I really thought I was never going to find a passion, that I was never going to find what I really wanted, and I have. But I know that so many people do struggle with that, the same thing as me. So I think that's such a helpful thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, finding a passion can be a really scary thing, because you're kind of in this rut of, I want to find my passion, and I want to know what I want to do. But if you're not putting yourself in situations that are opening those doors to new scenarios, then how are you going to find that? And the people aren't exposed to internships the way that they should be in school. You know, you don't have that option of, oh, maybe I could do an internship here, or if I just walk into that place in London and ask, you know, you never know what they're going to say. Like, and it is just, be uncomfortable. Life is about being uncomfortable.
So the last question I'm going to ask you is a question that I'm asking everyone at the end of the podcast. Okay. And that is, what does success mean to you? Because this podcast is obviously called Success Stories. I'm not 100% sure I even have figured out what it means to me yet. Yeah. Do you feel like you know what it means to you?
Success for me right now is feeling like I'm accomplishing something every day, and I'm, you know, throwing myself into new challenges and growing. I'm in no way, shape or form where I want to be in life. I'm on the right track. But even myself, like, I'm passionate about Luxury Promise, but, you know, I'm working with Sabrina and it's her company, you know. Obviously, I am an investor, so, you know, a small share of it is mine. But, you know, the success of yourself is a work in progress, I think. And I think it can be relayed in so many ways. Like, it's not all about money. It's about your surroundings and your lifestyle, and, you know, being able to wake up and do what you want. I think success is freedom.
Yes.
Success is freedom for me.
Yes, I love that.
I'm one of those girls, like, I love handbags, of course, and I love, like, luxury and shopping, but, you know, like, when I go on holiday and I'm on the beach and I'm, you know, just, like, lying in the sun, like, for me, that's my happy place. So if I can get to a point where I have the freedom to do that, then I'm there.
Well, I love that, and thank you so much for coming on. I honestly think this has been amazing and so helpful to people and inspiring. So thank you so much.
I've loved it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.